Biology is the science of life forms and living processes. The living world comprises an amazing diversity of living organisms. Early man could easily perceive the difference between inanimate matter and living organism. Early man defined some of the inanimate matter, wind, sea, fire, etc., and some among the animals and plants. A common feature of all such forms of inanimate and animate object was the sense of awe or fear that they evoked. The description of living organisms, including human beings, began much later in human history. Societies which indulged in anthropocentric view of biology could register limited progress in biological knowledge. Systematic and monumental description of life forms sprout in out of necessity detailed systems of identification, nomenclature, and classification. The biggest spin-off of such studies for the recognition of the sharing of similarities among life organisms both horizontally and vertically, that all present day living organisms are related to each other and also to all organisms that ever lived on this earth, was a revelation which humbled man and led to cultural movements for conservation of biodiversity. In the following chapters of this unit you will get a description including classification of animals and plants from a taxonomist perspective. Ernst Mayr, 1904 to 2004, born on 5 July 1904 in Campton, Germany. Ernst Mayr, the Harvard University evolutionary biologist who has been called the Darwin of the 20th century, was one of the 100 greatest scientists of all time. Mayr joined Harvard's Faculty of Arts and Science in 1953 and retired in 1975, assuming the title Alexander Agassiz Professor of Zoology Emeritus. Throughout his nearly 80-year career, his research spanned ornithology, taxonomy, zoogeography, evolution, systematics, and the history and philosophy of biology. He almost single handedly made the origin of species diversity the central question of evolutionary biology that it is today. He also pioneered the currently accepted definition of a biological species. Meyer was awarded the three prizes widely regarded as the Triple Crown of Biology: the Bulzan Prize in 1983, the International Prize for Biology in 1994, and the Crafoord Prize in 1999. Mayer died at the age of 100 in the year 2004. The living world. How wonderful is the living world? The wide range of living types is amazing. The extraordinary habitats in which we find living organisms, be it cold mountains, deciduous forest, oceans, freshwater lakes, deserts, or hot springs, leaves us speechless. The beauty of a galloping horse, of a migrating birds, the valley of flowers, or the attacking shark evokes awe and a deep sense of wonder. The ecological conflict and cooperation among members of a population and among populations of a community, or even the molecular traffic inside a cell, make us deeply reflect on what indeed is life. This question has two implicit questions within it. The first is a technical one and seeks answer to what living is so opposed to the non-living, and the second is a philosophical one and seeks answer to what the purpose of life is. As scientists, we shall not attempt answering the second question, we will try to reflect on what is living. Diversity in the living world. If you look around, you will see a large variety of living organisms, be it potted plants, insects, birds, your pets, or other animals and plants. There are also several organisms that you cannot see with your naked eye, but they are all around you. If you were to increase the area that you make observations in, the range and variety of organism that you see would increase. Obviously, if you were to visit a dense forest, you would probably see a much greater number and kinds of living organisms in it. Each different kind of plant, animal, or organism that you see represent a species. The number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. This refers to biodiversity or the number and types of organisms present on Earth. ठीक. We should remember here that as we explore new areas and even old ones, new organisms are continuously being identified. I stated earlier there are millions of plants and animals in the world. We know that plants and animals in our own area by their local names. These local names would vary from place to place, even within a country. Probably you would recognize the confusion that would be created if we did not find ways and means to talk to each other to refer the organism we are talking about. Hence, there is a need to standardize the naming of living organisms such that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. This process is called nomenclature. Obviously, nomenclature or naming is only possible when the organism is described correctly and we know to what organism the name is attached to. This is known as identification. In order to facilitate the study, number of scientists have established procedures to assign a scientific name to each known organism. This is acceptable to all biologists all over the world. For plants, scientific names are based on agreed principles and criteria, which are provided in International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. You may ask, you are animals named. Animal taxonomic have evolved in International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, which is ICZN in short form. The scientific names ensure that each organism has only one name. Description of any organism should enable the people in any part of the world to arrive at the same name. They also ensure that such a name has not been used for any other known organism. Biologists follow universally accepted principles to provide scientific names to known organisms. Each name has two components, the generic name and the specific epithet. This system of providing a name with two components is called biological nomenclature. This naming system given by Carlos Linnaeus is being practiced by biologists all over the world. This naming system using a two-word format was found convenient. Let us take the example of mango to understand the ways of providing scientific names better. The scientific name of mango is written as Mangifera indica. Let us see how it is a binomial name. In this name, Mangifera represents the genus, while indica is a particular species or a specific epithet. Other universal rules of nomenclature are as follows. Biological names are generally in Latin and written in italics. They are Latinized or derived from Latin irrespective of their origin. The first word in a biological name represents the genus while the second component denotes the specific epithet. Both the words in a biological name, when handwritten, are separately underlined or printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. Where Latin is a dead language, it is not commonly used in terms of daily use. Fourth point is the first word denoting the genus starts with a capital letter, while the specific epithet starts with a small letter. It can be illustrated with the example of Mangifera indica. Name of the author appears after the specific epithet is that at the end of the biological name and is written in an abbreviated form. The example Mangifera indica Lin. It indicates that this species was first described by Linnaeus. Since it is nearly impossible to study all the living organisms, it is necessary to devise some means to make this possible. This process is called as classification. Classification is the process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories based on some easily observable characters. Example, we easily recognize groups such as plants or animals or dogs, cats or insects. The moment we use any of these terms, we associate certain characters with the organism in that group. What image do you see when you think of a dog? Obviously, each one of us will see dogs and not cats. Now, if we were to think of allustations, we know that we are talking about. Similarly, suppose we were to say mammals, you would, of course, think of animals with external ears and body hair. Likewise, in plants, if we try to talk of wheat, the picture in each of our minds will be of wheat plants, not of rice or any other plant. Hence, all these dogs, cats, mammals, wheat, rice, plants, animals, etc., are convenient categories, which is taxa. Here you must recognize that taxa can indicate categories at very different levels. Plants also form a taxa. Wheat is also a taxa. Animals, mammals, dogs are all taxa. But you know that a dog is a mammal and mammals are animals. Dog is a mammal and mammal are animals. Therefore, animals, mammals, dogs represent taxa at different level. Hence, based on characteristic, all living organism can be classified into different taxa. This process of classification is taxonomy. Means that classification of organism into different taxa is known as taxonomy. External internal structure along with the structures of cell development process and ecological information of organisms are essential and form the basis of modern taxonomic studies. Hence, characterization, identification, classification, and nomenclature are the process that are basic to taxonomy. Taxonomy is not something new. Human beings have always been interested in knowing more and more about the various kinds of organisms, particularly with reference to their own use. In early days, human beings needed to find sources for their basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter. Hence, the earliest classification were based on the uses of various organisms. Human beings were since long not only interested in knowing more about different kinds of organisms and their diversities, but also the relationship among them. This branch of study was referred to as systematics. The word systematic is derived from the Latin word systema, which means systematic arrangement of organisms. Systema matlab a systematic arrangement of organisms. Linnaeus used Systema Naturae as the title of his publication. That's Systema Naturae. You have to remember it. It is an important point, and many of teachers make a para on that. But it is you have to remember it. Ki Linnaeus uses Systema Naturae as the title of his publication. It is the title of his publication. The scope of systematics was later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature, and classification. Systematics takes into account an evolutionary relationship among organisms. That systematics is an evolutionary relationship between organisms. This is also an important line to remember. Taxonomic categories. Classification is not a single step process but involves hierarchy of steps in which each step represents a rank or category. Since the category is a part of overall taxonomic arrangement, it is called the taxonomic category. And all categories together constitute the taxonomic hierarchy. Each category referred to as a unit of classification in fact represents a rank and is commonly termed as taxon, which is a plural word is taxa. Taxonomic categories and hierarchy can be illustrated by an example. Insects represent a group of organisms sharing common features like three pairs of jointed legs. Bilkul. It means insects are recognizable, concrete objects which can be classified. Which can be classified. If we find any organism having three pairs of jointed appendages, that means it comes in the category insect. And thus we were given a rank or category. It's right. Can you name other such groups of organism? Remember, groups represent category. Category further denotes rank. Each rank or taxon in fact represents a unit of classification. These taxonomic groups categories are distinct biological entities and not merely morphological aggregates. Taxonomical studies of all known organisms have led to the development of common categories such as kingdom, phylum, or division. For plants, class, order, family, genus, and species, all organisms, including those in plant and animal kingdoms, have species as the lowest category. मतलब सबके पास all plant and all animals have species as the lowest category. Now, the question you may ask is how to place an organism in various categories. The basic requirement is the knowledge of characters of an individual or group of organism, which is the basic character. This helps in identifying similarities and dissimilarities among the individual of the same kind of organism as well as of other kind of organisms. Species. Taxonomic studies consider a group of individual organisms with fundamental similarities as species. One should be able to distinguish one species from other closely related species based on the distinct morphological differences. Let us consider Mangifera indica, Solanum tubersum, Panthera leolian. All the three names, indica, tubersum, and leo, represent the specific epithets, while the first words Mangifera, Solanum, and Panthera are genera and represents another higher level of taxon or category. Each genus may have one or more than one specific epithets representing different organisms, but having morphological but having morphological similarities. For example, Panthera has another specific epithet called tigris, and Solanum includes species like Nigra melongena. Human beings belong to the species Sapiens, which is grouped into the genus Homo. The scientific name thus for human being is written as Homo sapiens. Genus Genus comprises a group of related species which has more characters in common in comparison to species of other genera. We can say that genera are aggregates of closely related species. For example, potato and brinjal are two different species but both belong to the same genus Solanum. Leopanthera, leopard, tigris with several common features are all species of genus Panthera. This genus differs from another genus Felis which includes cats. Family. The next category, family, has a group of related genera with still less number of similarities as compared to genus and species. Families are characterized on the basis of both vegetative and reproductive features of plant species. Among plants, for example, three different genera Solanum, Petuna, Datura. Solanum, Petuna, and Datura are placed in their family Solanaceae. Among animals, for example, genus Panthera comprising lion, tiger, leopard is put along with genus Felis in the family Felidae. Similarly, if you observe the features of a cat and a dog, you will find some similarities and some differences as well as they are separated into two different families, Felidae and Canidae. Order. You have seen earlier that categories like species, genus, and families are based on a number of similar characters. Generally, order and other higher taxonomic categories are identified based on the aggregates of characters. Order, being a higher category, is the assemblage of families which exhibit a few similar characters. The similar characters are less in number as compared to different genera included in a family. Plant families like Convolvulaceae, Solanaceae are included in the order Polemoniales, mainly based on their floral characters. The animal order Carnivora includes families like Felidae and Canidae. Class. This category includes related orders. Class. This category includes related orders. For example, order Primata, comprising monkey, gorilla, gibbon, is placed in class Mammalia along with order Carnivora that includes animals like tiger, cat, and dog. Class Mammalia has other orders also. Phylum classes comprising animals like fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, along with mammals, constitute the next higher category called phylum. All these based on common features like and presence of notochord and dorsal hollow neural system are included in phylum Chordata. In case of plants, classes with a few similar characters are assigned to a higher category